Hi, I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar, 5 Principles of High-Performing Organizations, Going from Chaos to High Performance. My name is Denise Smith, and I am founder and CEO of Eagle Ridge Professional Services, where we are improving performance, one leader at a time. As a special thank you for joining us today, we're going to give you a free personality assessment. This is normally part of an assessment package, but it's free to you today just for joining us. This personality assessment will give you an idea of your work style, whether you're analytical, decisive, controlled, impulsive, etc. And even if you've taken a personality assessment in the past, I encourage you to take ours today. As you go in your career, you make subtle changes to accommodate your environment, so the results might be different. Also, our assessment gives you 8 to 18 pages of feedback on your character and work traits, and that's more comprehensive than most other assessment packages. So again, just email us at info@eagleridge.com, eagleridgeconsulting.com, excuse me, and we will get you the link to the assessment. And before we get started, a little housekeeping. I won't be using the chat portion today. I don't have a moderator, and therefore if you want to ask me a question, please click the Q&A at the top of your screen. Enter your question there and hit submit, and I will try to remember throughout the webinar to go to the questions and answer them. Okay, today we are going to talk about 5 principles of high-performing organizations. Principles of high performance, assessing an organization for high performance, developing a high-performance strategy, high-performance leadership, and developing high-performance teams. But before we get started on the 5 principles, let's talk about why we developed a program to help companies go from chaos to high performing. We as leaders are not doing a good job of communicating our vision or our strategy to our teams. We may think we have a good message, but research has shown this not to be true. As you can see by these statistics, there are very few employees who believe they know exactly what is expected of them, as well as exactly where the company is headed or where the company wants to head. Think about it. Does your company have a well-defined strategy? If so, how are you communicating that strategy? Is it even documented? Is it posted anywhere? Do you periodically remind your team members of that strategy in team meetings? And to keep with your strategy, do you scrutinize the efforts you approve to ensure you're working toward your goals? Do you say yes to projects that are going to help you meet your goals? And most importantly, do you say no to projects that don't align with your strategy? If you don't scrutinize your projects to ensure they are in line with your strategy, how can you be sure where your company is going? How do you know you're going to meet your goals? Just a little something to think about. And here are some fun facts about today's American workforce. 96% of Americans, that's 96% of Americans polled, believe that their current position is not going to get them to their long-term goals. In today's world, people are taking jobs for all kinds of reasons, but clearly one of the reasons isn't because they believe they can move ahead in their current role. People may want to get in the front door. In today's economy, people may just need to take a job, or people might have taken one job hoping it will lead to their dream job. But whatever the reason, most Americans don't feel like their current role is the role that is going to lead to their professional happiness. And building on that, over half of the managers surveyed said they're not happy with their jobs. And a very scary statistic is that 3/4 of Americans say their job is the main cause of their stress. Think about your job and ask yourself this question. Is my family happy I work here? Is my family happy I work here? If the answer is no, then you are probably part of that 74%. But don't fear, we can help. Another reason we developed the 5 principles is because for some, there's a belief that they can never be a leader. There are many myths when it comes to being a leader, but the truth is that anyone can be a leader. And leaders aren't just at the top of organizations, leaders are all through the organizations. A clerk who stays past shift to make sure invoices are entered before the billing cycle ends, that's a leader. A manager who takes the time to listen to an employee's problem and really takes the time, actually listens, that means turning off your phone, not reading your emails, hearing what the employee is saying, listen to the problem, and help them develop solutions for that problem, that person's a leader. A manager who lets all their employees go home a day early or early the day before a holiday, that's a popular leader, at least for that day. Now think about it. Do you consider yourself a leader? If you have ever convinced anyone to do something that they originally didn't want to do, you're a leader. Have you ever convinced someone to go to a restaurant or to a concert that they didn't want to go to? Then you were showing leadership skills. Have you ever been able to convince a coworker to change the scope of a project or even change the time of a meeting to accommodate more members? You were showing leadership skills. If people come to you for advice on a specific topic, then you are a leader in that particular arena. We at Eagle Ridge Professional Services want to demystify all of these myths of leadership. We want people to feel empowered to become leaders, or at least to be able to think that they can become leaders. Start putting that in their minds. Again, anyone can do so. And now on to the 5 principles. Principle number 1, organizational development. There are 3 stages of organizational development. The first one is chaos. How many of us are in the chaos mode? How many of us have too many meetings, too many conference calls? Not enough people know you not enough people around you know what's really going on. This is where most workers feel like their company is today. If you talk to employees, they'll tell you that they often feel overwhelmed and that they don't know how their job fits into the overall picture of the company, or if they're actually doing a good job for the company. Excuse me, which brings me to a side note. You should be providing employees feedback all year round, not just at performance time. There should never be any surprises in an employee's review. As a leader, it is your job to provide positive and negative feedback at the time the situation occurs, not just at the end of the year. Again, just a little side note, employees appreciate feedback, even the negative feedback, long before the review is due, so hopefully they can change their behavior. The next stage in organizational development is stability. And this is where you start to develop the procedures that you don't have when you're in chaos. This is where you start setting goals and making sure employees are in the right job fit. This does not mean that you fire people. No, no, no. But instead, you get them the training they need to adequately perform their role. You have to stabilize the company before you can expect great results. And the third stage in organizational development is high performance. And this is where you want to be. This is where employees know the strategy of the company, have the right tools to effectively do their job, and they feel empowered to get the job done. Think about the tools your team needs. Do they have them? Is it as simple as an Excel spreadsheet? Is it a CRM database? Do you already have the tools that your team needs in order to get things done? Is it as simple as letting your team know where those tools are? And more importantly, how to use the tools. Most companies want to be in the high performance paradigm, but they don't know how to change the culture to get to a high performing team. And that's where we come in. We've developed a systematic approach to help companies move from chaos to high performance. The first thing we do is an organizational assessment. And this is where we honestly assess an entire organization from top to bottom, including the most senior staff members. If you take a poll and you ask senior management, they'll tell you that rank and file is the problem. But if you ask the rank and file, they'll tell you senior management is the problem, which is why you need an objective assessment of all levels of your organization. Then you can start to work on improving your company. Next is looking at leadership and personal development. Once you have an honest assessment, you don't get rid of weak staff members. I can say that. Do not fire your staff. you properly train them. Most employees receive little to no training for their current position. And as we learned earlier, most companies don't have well-documented procedures. So employees are doing what they think is right, but that might not always be the case. And as a leader, you should take time to work on yourself as well as your business. Step out of the day-to-day. Take a refresher course, or even learn something new. In doing so, you will find a renewed energy, and you might even come up with a solution to the problem you've been struggling with. And wouldn't that be nice? Sorry about that. The next step is strategy. Do you see a common theme here? Without a solid strategy, your company just floats and floats and floats. Your team needs direction. Here, you set and clearly communicate your strategy. And don't be afraid to tell everyone about your strategy, whether it's just for your department or for the entire company. The more information your team has about the direction of the company, the better chance you have of actually getting it done. And the better chance you have of meeting your strategy, the better chance you have of remaining or even becoming successful. Wouldn't that be nice? The fourth principle is team development. Once you make sure everyone understands the goals of the company, then you need to make sure everyone is in the right job. You will have employees that you will need to coach to get you to your goals, but that's okay, because usually it's cheaper to train the staff you already have on board than it is to hire new ones. And as your manager, as a high-performing manager, it sometimes means swallowing your pride and working with that problem employee and turning them around to a high-performing employee. Because remember, at one point in time, you had confidence that the person could do the job you were hiring them for. So let's find a way to regain confidence in that employee again. Principle number 2, assessing your organization for high performance. One thing we have to do as managers is let go and trust. And I know that's easier said than done. I'm a high type A personality. Let go is not something that I can do easily. But as managers, we need to let go and trust. We need to provide our team with clear vision and clear strategy, let them know how their role fits into that strategy, get them any training they need, and then let them go and watch the magic happen. In our program, there are 2 types of managerial paradigms, traditional and high performance. Managers in the traditional paradigm usually have the most control, make most of the decisions, and are internally focused. And as you can see from this list, most companies in the traditional paradigm have a centralized and bureaucratic structure, a lot of times bureaucratic structure. They have uniform and strictly enforced policies. They do things by the book. There is no creative thinking or very little creative thinking in the traditional paradigm. The training in this paradigm focuses on the technical skills only instead of a well-rounded training program for that employee. Employees are viewed as tools of management. Again, employees in this one are viewed as tools of management, which can lead to alienated and unhappy employees, and nobody wants to hate to come to work. On the other hand, managers in the high-performing paradigm let go and empower their team. And again, I know it's easier said than done, letting go. These managers are customer-focused. Their training focuses on the total employee development, business understanding, teamwork, management development. Managers in this paradigm view employees as partners. And most importantly, they encourage a good work-life balance, which is what most people want today, a good work-life balance. The high-performance paradigm is much a better place to be in for an employee. And a lot of times, if they feel like they have a good work-life balance, they're going to work harder for you to help you meet your goals. And if you have not done so recently, or if you haven't done so at all, you should assess your employees to determine their engagement in your company. Are they truly interested in helping you meet your goals? or are they exchanging time for money? Meaning they work the required number of hours, they collect their paycheck, but they really don't care about the goals of the company. Where do your employees sit? Also, do you have a gem in hiding? As mentioned earlier, just because a person is doing one job does not mean they're not qualified or even want to do another job. Who is your hidden gem? Do you have any? Do you know? Very important is your employee turnover rate. Do you know your turnover rate? Do you know the number of employees you have versus the number of W-2s you sent out last year? Are those close? Did you send out a lot more W-2s than you have actual employees? If you did, then you have high turnover. The question is, do you know why? In 2013, Gallup found that we spent $11 billion. Yes, that's billion with the B, dollars each year on turnover. How many of that $11 billion is your company spending? Another quick side note, the personality assessment we're offering you free today can also be used to ensure you hire the right person for the job the first time. Remember, it gives you 8 to 18 pages of feedback. That's good information to have on a potential candidate. Even if you don't use our tool, there are many other tools out there. I highly encourage you to assess your team. Find out where they are, find out who truly wants to help you get to the next level, and find out whose career you may need to redirect. Principle number 3, developing a high-performance strategy. Excuse me, if you haven't set your strategy, or if you haven't visited your strategy in a while, this list will help you ensure your goals are in line with your actions, and your actions are in line with your goals. These 8 questions seem easy, but once you actually start answering them, maybe not so much. First one, what business are you in? This seems like an easy question, but if CNN were to put a mic to your face and gave you 2 minutes to describe what it is you do, what would you say? And more importantly, would the people listening understand what it is you do? Do you know your company's main strengths? Do these strengths distinguish you from your competition? Your main strengths and or your core competencies are in all areas of the company, not just at the top. They can be in brand recognition, innovation, leadership, and even customer service. Again, do you know where your team's strengths are? Do you and your employees have a clear understanding of what you offer to your company? To your customers. Sometimes it's very easy. Bike store sells bikes and accessories. Sometimes they sell a little bit of training, but it all has to do around bikes. In my case, as a consultant and a managerial coach, it's not as clear-cut, not as tangible. Question is, can you and or your employees clearly articulate what it is you do? Do you know your competition? What are they doing? What are they not doing? And are they successful because of it? 5, the key industry success factors. This is so important. Do you know how you will measure your company's success? Do you know how the industry will measure your company's success? Are these success factors documented? Do you run periodic reports to ensure you are meeting these success factors? Is your team aware of these success factors? 6, distinguishing strategy. What distinguishes you from your competition? Why should anyone come to you versus going to your competitor? Great question. Do you know the answer? And what is your business focus? Do you have a specific focus, or are you trying to be everything to everyone? And what do you want to accomplish? Once you have a strategy, you need to take a step back and look at how well it fits into your overall organization. Let's make sure your strategy matches your actions. And if there's something that you're doing that doesn't meet your strategy, it is okay to stop doing it. Maybe not cold turkey. Let's phase it out, but it is okay to stop doing things that don't help you get to your ultimate goal. Here we have some questions that will help you assess your strategy. What is the long-term vision? Where do you want to be at the end of the year? In 3 years, 5 years, and even 10 years down the road? Do you know? Is it documented? What drives your company? Are you internally driven, process and procedures, customer driven, market driven? Do you follow trends? Do you have one major customer that sets most of your standards? Or do you have a lot of customers who enjoy your products? How well do you understand the changes that are occurring in your environment? That's a great question. Are there laws that you need to pay attention to? What's the unique value you provide to your customers? Why do they keep coming back to you? And it is perfectly okay to say that customers come back specifically because of you. This reason doesn't have to be long or drawn out, but it does need to be unique enough that you can attract and retain new customers if that's your goal. How does the value you provide distinguish you from your competitors? What do you do differently than they do? How does your strategy give you the competitive advantage for the future? And this is so important. If you want to be in business for the long haul, how are you setting yourself apart from your competition? Why will you survive even if they don't? And lastly, what are your 3 top business objectives? What are you focused on? What should you be focused on? And again, is it documented? As you can see, writing a good strategy is not a one-day exercise. It's going to take time and some research. But in the end, you will ensure that you have a strategy that's going to help you meet your ultimate goals. Building off the strategy is organizational mission and strategic direction. Organizational mission is as simple as your purpose and reason for being. Your mission does not have to be long and drawn out. For example, Nike's mission statement: to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Again, their mission statement: to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. It's short and to the point. You can develop your mission statement by answering these 3 questions. Your organization's primary reason for being. How well is your mission defined? And do your employees live your mission? Again, Nike's mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. They do this by selling athletic wear. They sponsor athletes. They sponsor events. And they give back to communities in many ways. All of this is accompanied in their simple mission statement. Next is setting a strategic direction, which is simply the act of making conscious choices about where you want to take your company. These 4 questions can get you there. What is your ideal vision? How do you want the world to see your company? Who are your customers? Do you know? Are they the kind of customers you want? What are your deliverables? What are your products? Are they tangible or intangible? Can you define them? And lastly, and once again, what are your core competencies? What are the main strengths of your company? By answering these 4 questions, you'll get a pretty clear vision of how you want to guide your company. Principle number 4, high performance leadership. Now, there are 5 roles of leadership a manager will play at some point in their managerial life. You don't play them all at the same time, but again, 5 roles that a manager will play at some point in their managerial life. First role is a coach. Set standards for performance and behavior. A coach empowers people, provides information, acts as a mentor, and generally helps employees be the best they can be by not taking away their ability to make decisions, by not making them feel bad when they make a mistake. A coach helps an employee learn from their mistakes. They don't tear them down from them. Next role is manager. A manager plans, directs, and handles the day-to-day fires. This person is the one who is normally in the trenches with the employees. They are in charge of most situations, and they usually want to make most, if not all, of the decisions. Architect. An architect sets standards for documents. They set standards for process. They align the standards to the systems, and they align the systems and standards to the company strategy. They reinforce the positive cultural norms, and they make sure that they communicate with their team often. Fourth is a technician. A technician has a high degree of technical proficiency in their role. They are considered an expert, and they can make a quick decision with a little information because of how well they know that role. Now here I have to warn you, sometimes technicians are so good at their jobs they get promoted, but without the other 4 roles around them, sometimes technicians meet Peter and his principal. Technician is one of 5 roles that should be played as a manager. And last is trailblazer. The trailblazer pays attention to trends. They clearly communicate the company's vision. They translate those visions into objectives so employees know exactly what it is that they're supposed to do in order to meet the overall strategy. They encourage risk-taking. They encourage innovation. And they are not in the day-to-day operations. Instead, they see the big picture and they help guide their team toward that big picture. All leaders perform each role at some point or other, but in traditional organizations, leaders tend to play the manager and the technician roles more often, so they're very controlling but very knowledgeable. In high-performance organizations, leaders emphasize the architect, trailblazer, and coach more often. Now, let's take a minute and think about which roles you most often exhibit. Let's take a couple of minutes, draw 2 pie charts with 5 slices, and then fill in where you currently spend your time on the first pie chart. And on the second pie chart, fill out how you want to spend your time to become more high performing. And while you are doing that, I am going to quickly take a look at the Q&A and see if we have any questions. Excuse me, and I do see that we have questions. So the first question, Alex, do you have to be a manager to be a leader? No, anyone can be. That's a great question, Alex. No, anyone can be a leader. Like I mentioned earlier, that clerk that stays to make sure that all the invoices in so that they can be billed properly, that person's a leader. If you're not yet a manager, but you show leadership skills, that's a good way to be promoted to a manager. And if you are a manager and you show new leadership skills, then that's a way to become a higher level manager. Good question, Alex. Next, Myra, can you send more information on the assessment tool? Of course I can. Our assessment tool is great for helping you hire the right person the first time. But Myra, I just do want to put in one quick little plug. That, although this is not a sales for assessments, our assessments also can be customized. So if you have a specific role that you're hiring for, do me a favor, send me your information, let me know what the role is, and we will contact you. We'll talk about how to help you hire the right person the first time. And lastly, Paul. Yes, that's a great question, Paul. However, it deals with an individual situation. So I'll tell you what, send me your information, your phone number, and a good time to contact you, and I will give you a call and we can talk about how to fix that particular problem. And I am looking at this point. Those were the 3 questions. So thank you, guys. In the meantime, did everyone else have an opportunity to fill out their pie charts? Do you spend more time in your traditional paradigm or in the high-performing paradigm? If you answered that you are in the traditional paradigm more often than the high-performing paradigm, you're not alone. But don't worry about it. You can learn the concepts to get you to high-performing. I will tell you that one big difference between a traditional manager and a high-performing manager is trust. You have to trust yourself, and you have to trust your team. A traditional manager likes to do it themselves. It's the old adage, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. They like to think that no one can do it without them. They sometimes try to protect what's theirs. They want their territory, and they love to quote policy and procedure, and they love to hold employees accountable to those policies and procedures. On the other hand, a high-performing leader trusts that their team is going to get it done, even if their team has to find creative ways to do so. They coach their team by facilitating problem solving. Again, they coach their team by facilitating problem solving. They help their team discuss and solve a problem. Even if they know the answer themselves, they let the rest of the team come to the answer. They help employees learn from their mistakes, and they inform their team of the overall strategies and goals. And so important, when those strategies and goals change, which shouldn't be too often, but you never know, a high-performance manager communicates that to their team. Now, this does not mean that a high-performance manager is a pushover. No, anything but that. A high-performing manager is firm but fair, and they deal with problem employees by coaching them to get them from a problem employee to a high-performing employee. And sometimes a high-performing manager has to make the difficult decision to help an employee redirect their career. While we usually want to train and maintain an employee, sometimes career redirection is the way to go. Principle number 5, developing high-performance teams. In order to get to a high-performing team, you must first define what it is or how you want your team to look. We have defined a high-performance team as a self-managing, multifunctional group of people organized around a whole process and are empowered with full responsibility for their own success. Again, a self-managing, multifunctional group of people organized around a whole process and are empowered with full responsibility for their own success. It is important to note that this isn't a whole process, the entire process. They see the big picture, not just their role, and they are empowered to help the whole company get to that big picture. Once you have defined what you want your team to look at, and once you have a manager who is high performing or who is working toward high performing, you then need to start your team on that same journey. Here's a depiction of a traditional team versus a high performing team. The traditional team works under hierarchy structure where the manager makes most of the decisions. Employees are held to strict rules which may or may not be documented. In a traditional team, the manager may even see their staff as being a means to an end and not necessarily a partner, and that's not good. In a high-performance team, there's shared leadership, team members can fill multiple roles, and most importantly, team members are viewed and treated like partners, not tools. So important. People wanted to be respected. You hire them for a reason, they have knowledge, use it. And this makes a huge difference in the way employees perceive themselves. If they're treated as partners, they're going to do a better job of helping you get to your overall goals. If they're treated as tools, they're going to trade time for money. They're going to collect their paycheck and let you do whatever it is that you do. Lastly, there are certain characteristics of a high-performing team exhibits. This is a list of some. This is not everything, but this is a pretty good list. In a high-performance team, the team members all know the goals of the team, and they know the goals of the company, and they work toward those goals. They also feel empowered to make decisions. They're not afraid of getting in trouble, for taking charge of a situation, for being creative, and for resolving any issues without checking with management first. Again, they're empowered. It's so important in this team that they are not afraid to share ideas. They share ideas, they share thoughts with each other. In this paradigm, competition and collaboration is a good thing. It's even encouraged. This paradigm encourages team members to be part of the decision-making process. Team members are actively involved in making team decisions that will help the company ultimately meet their goals, and employees really like that. Again, they feel like they had a voice. And because they feel empowered and because they feel like they had a voice, they will help you get to your goals. Now, I've given you an awful lot of information today, so let's stop and think about it. Things to think about. Where is your organization? Are you in chaos? Do you have too many meetings? Is your calendar crazy? Are you working overtime? Are you in stability? Do you have documented procedures, but they're maybe not well communicated? Or are you already high performing? Awesome, if you are. Do you have a well-defined strategy, well-defined mission, well-defined vision? Are they documented? Are they communicated? Does your team understand your goals? Your goals as a leader, your goals if you own your own company. If not, do they understand the goals of the company? How are you different from your competition? What sets you apart? Why will you still be in business 10 years from now and they won't be? And most importantly, to stop and think about, after this webinar is over, go grab a cup of coffee, go grab a glass of water, and think about what changes will you make in your work life to start to become high performing. All things to think about. Now, if you put these 5 principles into play, you will be well on your way to high performing organization. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to let go. And again, I know that's hard. And most importantly, don't be afraid to trust yourself or to trust your employees. Again, don't be afraid to trust yourself or to trust your employees. So important for a high-performing organization. And that brings me to the end of this webinar, 5 Principles of High-Performing Organizations, going from chaos to high-performing. Don't forget to join us next month when our topic will be the difference between a manager and a leader. It's August 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain. I happen to be in Mountain Time. Again, feel free to contact me if you have questions about this presentation or if you'd like to discuss how Eagle Ridge Professional Services can help your team move from chaos through stability into high performing. And let me check to see if we have any questions. Lastly, before we go, last question, how long does it take to do a company assessment? That's a good question, Tony. Great question, actually, and it depends. It's on a case-by-case basis. We've done some companies in 2 days, and it's taken us, in other times, it's taken 2 months, depending on where you are with the strategy, whether you want to write a new strategy, rewrite your old strategy. So again, it's on a case-by-case basis, anywhere from 2 days to potentially 2 months. Could be longer, depends on where you are in the chaos chart. Great question. And those are all the questions. So again, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to email us for your free personality assessment, info@eagleridgeconsulting.com. Thank everybody. You guys have a great day and start your way to high performance. Thanks, guys. Yep, let me end the meeting. Bye, everyone.